a lot of companies have a too small a definition of diversity, and that you said something to me then that really sort of said, well, there's so much more involved here than a lot of people think of. How would you wrap a definition around diversity that would help us to expand that vision?
When people talk about diversity, what I find is that many people think of it as just race and gender, right? So, but diversity is so much larger and it goes beyond race and gender. It can encompass everything that would differentiate us from one another, you and me. And that could be race, it could be ethnicity, could be national origin, sex, gender identity, and it could even be our age, religion, could be veteran status, disability, as well as our thinking styles, our education background, our socioeconomic backgrounds, including political thought. That those are all dimensions of diversity. We believe that better decisions are made when you have complementary perspectives and you consider complementary perspectives, and companies benefit from that.
It's interesting, one of the oldest things that I remember is a discussion that I learned in early management education, was that, if we don't have a little contention at the table and we
Mhm.
only plan A, if plan A fails, we don't have plan B. So it's like it's the collection of voices and the different ideas that matter. And when we bring different experiences to the table, we can come away much stronger because of it. I like that idea a lot. Um,
Yeah, when you bring in multiple perspectives, you will come up with multiple ways of solving a problem, right?
mhm.
And
I
you
find,
benefit from that. So you avoid groupthink and you allow for the vetting of ideas and for the more superior idea to emerge.
yeah, I have found that extremely helpful, that people from different backgrounds, whatever they may be, and even have found that they might even live down the street, two houses away from me, they still have a different perspective. And those voices are really important. I've been privileged over the last 14 years now, almost at my company as long as you've been at yours, to work for a company that's been successful in kind of creating a very diverse workforce. But I wonder, you talk about the benefits of this sort of diversified collection of people that work together. What are some of the benefits that you see companies receiving that are very tangible, that we could get our heads around?
There's a lot of research that point to that fact, and we're not going to recount all of them here, but there's a McKinsey study that shows that companies who are in the top quarter of gender diversity are 15% more likely to have better financial returns. That's documented across multiple companies. And those who are in the top quartile of racial and ethnic diversity are 35% more likely to have better financial performance. So just think about it. If you assemble multiple perspectives, you encourage healthy debate, you encourage vetting of ideas, as I mentioned, but also if you are staffing your front line with people who reflect the demographic pools that your company serves, your customers, you create connection right away, don't you? And you're better able to build customer loyalty and customer connection. But those kinds of benefits do not happen overnight. So just because you assemble a diverse team of people, it's a cause and effect thing. It doesn't. Bringing them in is one thing. There's still work to be done, Carl. It's not like you just bring them in and then passively wait for beautiful things to happen. No, for you to actually reap the benefits that the McKinsey study says, it requires a company to invest in inclusion. So the link between diversity and performance requires work in between that. So it won't result, for example, in greater innovation if people don't feel like they belong or that they are fearful of speaking up, or there would be repercussions for coming up with the wrong idea or being discounted for the ideas they present, right? So there are two parts to the equation, and you need to have a mix of the right people, a diverse group of people, as well as the right environment that will, and the right conditions to make it work. You need inclusive people management practices to encourage people to grow and develop in your organization. And if you're doing all of that, then and taking all of those impactful actions to create the right conditions, then you will definitely reap those benefits. So you ask, what are those benefits, right? First of all, you'll see an improvement in employee. If you create that culture, you'll see an improvement in employee relations. People respecting each other just creates good, positive employee relations. And when you have good employee relations, you will see a decline in claims, in retaliation and employment claims, right? You'll also see a reduction in turnover rates because people like where they are. You're engendering greater commitment. And you'll see a greater number of employees from underrepresented groups moving towards supervisory leadership and management positions because you're fostering learning, you're allowing everybody to have an opportunity to grow and develop. You'll see increase in employee job satisfaction, increases in employee engagement, and you'll see an increase in the level of comfort of employees willing to disclose who they are. I'll give you one example. Here at Circa, our level of disclosure of people, of employees who identify that they have a disability is 1 out of 4 employees, 25, almost 25%.
Hmm.
That's high. And to me, I'm proud of that because to me, that's a measure and indicator of safety, psychological safety, and our culture of inclusion. People are not going to disclose that they have a disability if they think that there's going to be retaliation or steering or that they're going to be stereotyped, right? So those kinds of metrics are indicators. So when you see that rise in your organization, that means that people are more willing to be authentic selves at work. And when they are authentic, they have a stronger sense of belonging. They feel like they belong in your organization. And when you have that, you build a stronger connection between your employees and their work that they do for your organization, between your employees and your company. And that kind of strong connection results in greater motivation, a higher level of passion. And to me, as an HR and an organizational development practitioner, that is what unlocks discretionary effort, right? The discretionary effort and time where that the employees give of themselves to the organization to pour their hearts and minds into their work and really think about the interests of the organization when they're doing their work. And that's what will show up in your retention numbers. That's what will show up in your innovation numbers. That's what will show up in your productivity numbers. And at the end of the day, those are the metrics that any organization, any CEO or executive team would be interested in. And that's why we say diversity is good for the entire organization. It's not just good for certain underrepresented groups, because the benefit that you get from diversity benefits everybody in the organization. And that's the promise of D&I.